Well, as you can see, 3.5 years ago, a group of educators here in Jerusalem, led by Rabbi Chaim Bravender, pioneer in Jewish education for 40 years in Israel, myself, Rabbi Yedidi Rausman, launched the Web Yeshiva and this beautiful website.
You know how to use it?
I don't actually.
Unplug the monitor and you'll be able to work in front of you.
But if you have the program, if you don't have the program,
I don't know. So. Okay. Okay. We launched 3 websites. WebYeshiva.org. WebYeshiva.org. Let me know when the internet comes back. WebYeshiva.org, which is a fully interactive online yeshiva. It's not recorded shiurim, although all of the classes are recorded. It's live, interactive, using video conferencing, a combination of Cisco's WebEx program, which was hacked together and implemented with our own course management system that acts as a bridge between our website and the video conferencing technology. We offer over 50 hours of classes a week, as you can see on the schedule on the screen. Classes that meet once a week, twice a week, 5 times a week in all of the variety of Jewish studies subjects that are generally offered: Talmud, Jewish thought, Bible, Tanakh, Halakha, a few other things that the freedom of being online and not in an actual brick and mortar institution allows us to offer in our program, things that are a little more unconventional fare for what usually passes as yeshiva studies. So, for example, at the moment, I'm teaching a course in conjunction with the Beit Agnon in Yerushalayim on the writings of Shai Agnon, which is not something that's generally offered in yeshiva, but something that we have a little bit of wiggle room to add to our offerings. Whether or not it should or should not be on the curriculum of a yeshiva, that's for a different panel that we should conduct. Maybe
If you
we'll
want to connect the line, you can. It's up to you.
Okay.
I think
I
internet's
don't have
up
enough
again.
time to do a talk today.
I think internet's up again.
Internet's up again. There you go. There you go. So we offer all types of classes. When you enter, so this is the Web Yeshiva. You log in. The schedule is displayed in your own local time zone, and you can register for classes. In addition, we launched a parallel site using the same backend functionality in Russian, webyeshiva.ru, and a third site called TorahTutors.org, which has 4 channels: virtual chavruta, people that want one-on-one learning at the time of their choosing, the topic of their choosing, enrichment, day school students that need some tutoring, but maybe that's unavailable where they are or in their home, to provide support and learning for homeschooling, which is, of course, as you know, an increasingly growth market, particularly in the United States, and bar and bat mitzvah prep. All of them use the same back-end functionality of the course management and the video conferencing. When we set up the program, of course, we were very smart. We didn't have any tech people on our side. We would outsource things to tech people because, of course, Jewish educators, we know everything. That was, of course, a curse, but it was also a blessing. The technology choices that we made along the way were driven first and foremost by our conception of what Jewish education and Jewish learning is about. There's been reciprocal effects of one on the other as we've learned things along the way, but we designed a site that represented what we thought Jewish learning was about. And therefore, unlike 98% of the rest of online Jewish learning, ours takes place in real time. I teach last night at 10 p.m. Israel time. I log on at 10 to 10. My students from all over the world log on. I have a student in New Zealand, it's tomorrow morning for him. I have a student in Hawaii, it's yesterday morning for her. There's someone in Chicago, in Italy, in Poland, and of course in exotic locations like London and New York and Beit Shemesh, etc., enabling those folks to also learn some Torah online. But the class takes place in real time. That, of course, is counter to the way we generally think of how the internet runs, and it's a reflection of what we think Jewish learning is really about, the live interaction between teachers and students and between students and students. But it, of course, also limits us to people that will log on online at that specific time. We offer over 50 hours of classes a week around the clock. We have teachers that are based here. We have teachers that are based in North America. You can see by day, and there are classes that meet 5 times a week, once a week, 3 times a week, twice a week, etc. You log on. It plays, of course, in your local time zone. But that's one of the functions of what we were trying to do. We discovered 2 things. I was asked to describe some of the positive things we learned and some of the harder lessons we learned along the way. 2 things that we learned, or 2 things that we wanted to accomplish, and we were heartened to discover that it's possible to do. One on a sense of community, and the other a pedagogical point. I thought, how can the internet? It'll be a wonderful tool for the people that are out in, far-flung places that have no other options. But will we be able to build a community of people the way that you're able to build a community? And I'd spent many years teaching in conventional schools and brick-and-mortar schools and brick-and-mortar yeshivot. Will we be able to create a community? And in very surprising ways, we've discovered that we have. So for example, we follow a certain schedule that more or less resembles a yeshiva schedule. So there are periods of bein hazmanim, of vacation between semesters. And we discovered a group of students, 5 students, this one in Hawaii, one in Florida, one in New York, one here in Israel, and one in Poland. 5 students, none of whom have ever met in the physical world, because they live, each of them is on a different continent practically. And they were meeting in a classroom, in one of our virtual classrooms, to have a chabura, to have their own private learning group during the break, right? Well, we didn't even know about it. One of them had arranged with the secretary in the office to open a classroom, just like in a regular yeshiva. You might go knock on the office door and say, "Can we have the key to the room?" It was exactly like that, right? And the same kind of human interaction. This fellow I mentioned in Poland, we have a couple of students in Poland, but one in particular who's our prize pupil, who learns with us all day, every day, is unfortunately very ill. You may have read about this. It got some coverage in the Jerusalem Post last Friday. Joel Nowicki, who's a brilliant student, like so many other young Jews in Poland, only a couple of years ago started exploring his Jewish connection, his Jewish roots, and started learning. After spending a very brief amount of time here in a yeshiva, he had to return to remote northern Poland. To him, going to Warsaw is like going to Yerushalayim. It's a mecca of Jewish life. He is 5-hour drive north of Warsaw, in a place where there's not another Jew besides his family. Unfortunately, he's very ill. He's a young man, he's in his 30s, he unfortunately has a very serious case of cancer. If this was a conventional yeshiva, so the Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Bravender, myself, the other teachers, there'd be an effort to support him. But so the students on Web Yeshiva gathered together, kicked in a magbit, gathered together some money, and we went to Poland 2 weeks ago to see him. And we spent a day learning with him. We broadcast special classes from his house there in Poland. And of course, the group of people, none of whom have ever met him in the real world, gathered together some tzedakah. We bought him some things that they needed, some food he wanted. We brought him a suitcase full of Jewish books that he wanted. Unfortunately, they didn't. A refrigerator. They didn't have a refrigerator, or at least a working refrigerator. All these things we were able to do, together with the help of Rabbi Shudrich, the chief rabbi of Poland, who was very helpful in organizing everything. The type of community that's the byword of what real learning, conventional learning, brick and mortar institutions are about, the human connections that we've been able to accomplish. And to me, it's extremely heartening, but it was also pleasantly surprising that we were able to kind of create, and these are just 2 vignettes of how we've done this. The other is a pedagogical point. In the WebEx, whose head is that? Who's blocking that? Somebody. Whose head is blocking the back? Oh, there you are. This is what an actual shear looks like. when you go into the shiur, it's WebEx. I'm sure many of you, how many people have experienced a WebEx type of thing? Yeah, so they're the leaders in video conferencing. You can see up to 6 people simultaneously. I can't show it. The teacher's picture is always fixed. If there's more than 6, there's nobody else online with us right now, so you can see them. But you could see up to 6 people simultaneously. If there's more than 6 people, you can scroll down to see everybody. Anything that you want to display on the text, of course, is here. As large or as small as you want. You no longer have to say it's 4 lines down in the skinny lines, which is always so off-putting to students that can't find a place on their own. You just put it. The students can annotate the text. You can do. This I don't. I'm sure that I don't need to do this for any of you, but you can annotate the text. You can mark it up. You can do whatever you want. Anything that you can cut and paste, you can display on the screen. And one of the reasons we invested in this is because it's extremely interactive. Everybody can see and be seen. Everybody can, if you're teaching about the Rambam, if you're teaching about the Beit HaMikdash, everybody can see and be seen. Everybody can hear and be heard and speak. We can accommodate up to 200 people in a class, although in reality, we don't want 200 people in a class, because 200 people in a class is a frontal lecture. So buy yourself a $15 MP3 recorder and record it and podcast it. It's a lot cheaper. So our classes tend to have 20, 25, 30 people max, because we want to use the interactive. But one of the interesting things is there's also, of course, a chat feature. You can chat. Everybody can chat. The teacher, student can chat with whomever they want. You can chat with all participants, or you can chat one-on-one. A student can chat directly with a teacher, or 2 students can pass a note amongst themselves. So one of the interesting pedagogical points that we discovered, one of the advantages, one of the ways in which teaching in this classroom is superior to a regular classroom is in a regular classroom, a teacher will ask a question. 2 + 2 = 4, right? So the teacher is deluded into thinking that everybody's following me. But what does the teacher really know? The teacher knows that you know the answer. And we don't have any kind of way to take the temperature of everyone else in the room. So I can say, I can ask a question. The Rambam says this, the Rosh says that. How do you think we paskin? What do you think the halacha is? Everybody right now, chat into me your answer, but chat to me one-on-one. And within 3 seconds, I'm able to take the temperature of everyone in the class to see, are they following? Do they understand what's going on? Are they with it? It also opens up, of course, a channel to the student who might want to ask a question, but like in every class, there are people that dominate the conversation, there are people that never open their mouths. Why don't they open their mouths? Either they're shy, or they're embarrassed, or they're afraid they'll say something wrong. But if the student feels they can trust the teacher, they can chat in a question. You're teaching a disparate group of people with different Jewish backgrounds. Not everybody knows. Not everybody might be on the same level or have the same background. The teacher is using jargon that somebody doesn't understand. They can just jot in, what does that word mean? Without opening themselves to embarrassment, without admitting to everyone else in the room that they don't know what's going on. And it's one of the surprising ways that we discovered that there are pedagogical advantages to this.